Thank you for tuning in to podcast number 45 of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfuss, and today I'm going to be giving my first NBA mock draft going into this upcoming NBA offseason, where I'm going to be kind of introducing you to the draft prospects that could be potentially drafted in the lottery part of the first round. And if you want to hear more about that, make sure to stay tuned. Once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sports Talk with JWock. And today we're going to be doing basically a mock draft for, an early mock draft based off of picks 1 through 14, where I'm going to be kind of introducing you to these upcoming draft picks and just kind of who could be potentially going during these picks, and just kind of introduce you to the players to get, a little more familiar with these players, especially since, a lot of you may not even know any of these guys except maybe like Cooper Flagg or something. So this is just kind of a good introduction to these players, and we'll be able to do a couple of more of these before the actual NBA draft, just so I can continue to make you guys more familiar with the prospects going into this year's draft. Now, I do want to say March Madness is a big deciding factor between like player stock and stuff. So this is just a very early mock draft. A lot can change, especially with March coming up, with March Madness and the tournament. There's going to be a lot that's going to change, but right now we're going to be basically just doing the lottery, which is just picks 1 through 14. And let's get right into that. And I believe it's based off of record. So we got the Wizards with the number 1 pick. I think this is an easy pick for the Wizards. I think no matter what team gets the number 1 pick, this is an obvious pick for many reasons, and that is Cooper Flagg. Now, some people are saying that he might come back another year of college, but we're just going to say he doesn't as of now. So, I think Cooper Flagg comes to the NBA this upcoming year. He's super young. He's only 19. He's averaging 19.4 points per game, as you can see on the screen. Just an excellent freshman. He's going to be a star in this league, let's be completely honest with you. It might not be year 1, might not be year 2, but it could be like year 3, year 4, where we really see Cooper Flagg becoming a really good player. And he's been playing excellent as of late. So Cooper Flagg is the unanimous number 1 pick in this case scenario. Next up, we have the Utah Jazz with the number 2 pick. I think this also is kind of an obvious pick. Now, the Jazz are definitely in need of some help here, especially at the point guard position. I know they have Keontae George. I know they have what's his name? Isaiah Collier, and that's solid. But in my opinion, we have Dylan Harper sitting right here at number 2. This is an easy pick in any other draft other than Cooper Flagg. Like, if Cooper Flagg was not in this draft class, Dylan Harper would be getting drafted number 1. He would have gotten drafted number 1 in this last draft. Probably not in the Wemby draft, but he would have been the number 2 pick. So this is a really good player. He has been playing a little. He's been, not as good as of late for the Rutgers, just because he's had some ankle injuries and stuff. But as of late, he's actually been getting healthier, so he's playing a lot better. And I like Dylan Harper. He's a 6'6" freshman point guard. That's a point guard you want, pretty decent size for his position. Next up, we have the Charlotte Hornets at pick number 3. This could go any way. I think the Hornets, there's a lot of question marks about them potentially moving on from LaMelo Ball. And I think that could be a big deciding factor as of who they draft, because they could make maybe a draft day trade where they try to trade LaMelo to maybe trade up and try to get Cooper Flagg or something like that. But if we're sticking with this roster right now, they do have a solid team. Like, I like LaMelo Ball. I like Brandon Miller. I think Tijon Salon is going to take a little bit of time to develop, but I think he's going to be a solid player. I do think they are lacking like another guard alongside LaMelo. They did not let, like, the Mark Williams trade was broken apart, so he's still on the team, so they still do technically have a center. I'm going to probably assume they're going to move on from him come free agency and just the offseason in general. I think this is a VJ Edgecombe pick. I know Ace Bailey's there. I think he's got the highest ceiling. But as of now, like VJ Edgecombe has been playing actually really good. Let's look up his stats real quick. Because honestly, he's been an excellent player as of late. He's averaging 14.8 points per game. He has 5.2 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He's playing excellent basketball as of late. He's also been able to shoot the ball at a much more consistent rate. He's shooting 36.4% from the three-point line. So he's being able to showcase that three-pointer as well, which is something that a lot of NBA critics and stuff were kind of worried about with him. But if he's able to show off the three ball like he's been, and if we see that in the tournament, if they make the tournament, he's going to be an excellent player. So I have the Hornets drafting VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. Next up, we have the number 4 pick with the New Orleans Pelicans. I think this is a pretty obvious pick. I think it's going to be hard for the Pelicans. I think this offseason in general is going to be a tough offseason for the Pelicans. It's going to be probably another fire sale. DeJounte Murray is going to be hard to trade, especially after him tearing his Achilles and being out for the season. He may have a super low value, and the Pelicans just may not want to move on from him. Zion Williamson is a player that they could definitely look to move on from. But in my opinion, I think this is Ace Bailey's pick right here. He's averaging 18.4 points per game. He's 6'10", 200 pounds. He's going to have to add a little bit of weight to be able to succeed in the NBA, but he definitely has one of the highest ceilings in the NBA or in this draft class so far. He is an excellent scorer. The only issue that I have with him personally, and a lot of people have with him when it comes to like scouts and stuff, it's his shot selection. He does have some questionable shots that he takes. He takes a lot of kind of wild shots that could be really bad for him. But if Ace Bailey can really figure out his shot selection and be able to be a little bit smarter on that aspect, he could be a very good player because he has a high motor and he is ready to ball out. And at 6'10", a 6'10 forward that's really athletic, quick, and can score the basketball, that's something dangerous to look out for in the league in the upcoming years. So at pick number 4, I have the Pelicans drafting Ace Bailey, which honestly could be a steal at pick number 4. Next up, we have pick number 5, which is the Toronto Raptors. This is going to be an interesting pick for the Raptors because I think the big question is, do they believe in Emmanuel Quickley at being their starting point guard? Because I'm looking at Kasparas Jakučionis right now from Illinois, who's the best player on the board clearly right now. I'm looking at him thinking, with this roster right now, I think they need a point guard, and they could have used the number 2 pick, and obviously in the lottery, things could happen. This is just based off of current record right now. So this is not going to be the exact order realistically going into the draft, but they could have used a point guard in Dylan Harper. That would have been their dream pick, but I think they have to go with, the backup plan, which is Kasparas Jakučionis. He's playing really good this year as a freshman. He's a 6'6 guard, 200 pounds. He's only 19. He's averaging 15.3 points per game. Why not take a chance on him? He kind of reminds me of a more scoring threat than a Josh Giddey or something, which is not a bad player. And I think he could display a little bit better defense than Giddey. The problem with Jakučionis from the games I've watched is he gets in a lot of foul trouble really quick. So if he can fix that, then that's going to be a dangerous thing for the NBA. And I think Jakučionis could be a very good player for the Toronto Raptors. At the number 6 pick, I believe. Yes, the 76ers are getting the pick. And this is crazy because the 76ers, they got some work to do. There's a lot of question marks if Joel Embiid's going to still be on the team. Paul George is giving up. Obviously he has a big contract, so they're not going to be able to move on from him. I also don't think they're going to be able to trade Joel Embiid. I don't think many teams want him for his injuries. Tyrese Maxey is a young and upcoming star. Jared McCain unfortunately had a season-ending injury. Quentin Grimes is also a very solid player. I really like what they've got building there. It just feels like they just don't have it quite yet. But I still think next season, if they could come back to health, which is a big question mark, but if they can, I think they pick Asa Newell here. He's an excellent player. 6'11", 220, 19-year-old freshman. He's kind of one of those players that has maybe a lower ceiling but a higher floor. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically like he's going to be able to come into the league as a safe pick. He may not be as bad as like some of the raw prospects could be, but he may not be as good as what some of those raw prospects could be as well. So he's just kind of that safe pick. And, when you're a team that's trying to compete now, which I'd assume the 76ers are still trying to do, maybe not this year, but like next year, that's going to be very important for the 76ers to be able to continue to have that kind of safe pick, to not be able to prohibit, players like Tyrese Maxey. Next up, for the number 7 pick, we have the Brooklyn Nets. This is a team that should have been in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, but they've been winning way too much. They didn't move on from Cam Johnson. They had way too high of an asking price. I believe Bojan Bogdanovic just got released, so he may not be on the roster right now. This may not be completely updated, but this is where I think the Nets take Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson has been hooping this season in the SEC, which a lot of people would say is the hardest conference in college basketball. He's averaging 20.2 points per game, shooting 44.2% from the field. Let me look actually at his 3-point numbers. Yeah, he's shooting 39.1% from 3. He just had like a 30-something. Let me look and see if they actually show it. Yeah, he had a 39-point game against Arkansas the other day. So he is a hooper. Like, he can score all around. He's probably the best overall scorer in this draft. And I think this would be a great pick for the Nets, especially then they could kind of try to maybe move on from Cam Thomas, especially since he's kind of had a lot of injuries lingering, especially this season. So I think this is a great pick for the Brooklyn Nets. And I apologize if my face cam is like covering some of the screen. I'm still working on this screen sharing thing, so just bear with me on that. Next up, we have the Chicago Bulls. As you can see, their team needs are literally severe in every single position except shooting guard, which is crazy because we really do need a lot. But if the Bulls can extend Josh Giddey, I say you go a center here. And let's just say they do, especially since they traded Caruso. They're probably not going to want to move on from Josh Giddey, which is something, that's smart of them. They have Lonzo back. I think you need a center that's going to be able to benefit off of players like playmakers like Lonzo Ball, Josh Giddey. I think they're going to move on from Vooch in the offseason, but it's the Bulls front office. Who knows? But in my opinion, I think this is an easy pick for the Bulls. I think you draft Kaman Maluach from Duke. He is a 7'2 freshman, 250 pounds, as you can see there. Excellent. If he's insanely efficient, scoring 70.8% of his shots. He's not really shooting threes. He isn't really spacing the floor much, but he's showing a lot of potential that he can. But he's just an excellent pick and roll player. Also a solid shot blocker. I like this pick for the Chicago Bulls. At number 9, we have the San Antonio Spurs picking, and I think this could go any way. There's a couple of players that I really like here that could go to the Spurs. I think Igor Demin, a couple months ago, would have been an excellent pick for the Spurs. But in my opinion, he's been really struggling as of late. And I think that should show some concerns, especially to a Spurs team that's trying to win now. Especially if Wemby can come back healthy. Hopefully he can. I mean, it's unfortunate to see that injury and stuff like that because that what he has with the blood clot is very dangerous. I think they could really they would thrive off of another center maybe to go alongside Wemby, so Wemby's not doing all the work. Con Kneppel would also be a solid player for them. I think that would be maybe a little bit of a reach. Liam McNeely would also... You know what? I'm going to draft Liam McNeely. He's one of the best, if not the best shooters in this draft. He's shown a lot of inconsistency, especially since he's been injured as of late. But in my opinion, if you're the Spurs, you don't need him to be this crazy scorer. You just need him to be that guy that's going to be able to draw defensive attention. Again, he's going to have to draw defenders to him and get some attention off of Wemby and De'Aaron Fox and even Devin Vassell for that case. And I think Liam McNeely's really going to be able to help do that. He does remind me a lot of Klay Thompson. He's an excellent shooter, and I really like this pick for the San Antonio Spurs. At pick number 10, we have the Portland Trail Blazers. This is a weird team that I think Portland, they need a lot. I think they could use another point guard. I don't know if they can bet on Scoot Henderson being their, final product at point guard. They do have Anthony Simons. I really like him, but I think they should probably trade him to get as much value as they can for him this offseason. Shaedon Sharpe's a really good player. I like Donovan Clingan that they have. I think they should trade Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton as well. There's a lot of picks that they could go with here. I'm going to draft Con Knipple because I really like him at the shooting guard position. Also one of the better shooters in this draft. This could be a reach. I don't know. I don't really think it is. This could be a really boring pick as well for the Portland Trail Blazers, but Con Knipple is just an all-around good player. The one thing that, could be a little questionable is his defense, but if he can really just start really sharpening up defensively, especially in the March Madness tournament, that his stock's going to rise a lot. So I really like Con Knipple as a player. At number 11, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and this was the Hawks pick, but the Spurs own it now. The Spurs get basically back-to-back picks. They drafted Liam McNeely first, and I think this is a Derek Queen pick. I think you get another center alongside Wemby. He's 6'10". He's not the most athletic, but he's just he's just a dominant, down low center. I really like Derek Queen. He's been dominating as of late for Maryland. If you guys want to watch college basketball games and you want to figure out a team to watch some of Maryland games and watch Derek Queen down low. He is an excellent player and he has great control down low. And I really like that about his game. He doesn't really space the floor well, so that's something that could be a little concern. But in my opinion, when you have Wemby, it's not that big of a deal. I think you're going to be just fine with spacing, and you could use Derek Queen to come off the bench for Wemby and be able to just give some quality minutes of scoring and just energy in general. So I like this pick for the San Antonio Spurs at 11. So we only got 3 more picks. We got 12, 13, and 14 left. This is a little difficult. I'm still trying to get used to a lot of these players and their draft profiles, so bear with me if I'm still not 100% sure on a lot of these players and based off of how they are. We have the Houston Rockets picking at pick number 12. This was Phoenix's pick, and this is going to be an interesting pick for the Rockets. This is probably a pick that I would say the Rockets would try to trade and just get some maybe try to get a star player out of it. Especially to a team that might be trying to rebuild now. But if they were to pick, I would probably say they would be good with drafting. I feel like Jeremiah Fears here wouldn't be the worst, but I'm going to draft Colin Murray Boyles. Solid power forward. I mean, I think the Rockets just have a lot of question marks right now with Jabari Smith. Is he the final solution at power forward for them? He still is taking very questionable shots. His shot selection has just not been great. And I think Colin Murray Boyles is just a good, safe pick, a player that's going to be able to help them win now, which is what the Rockets are trying to do essentially as of now. At pick number 13, we have the Atlanta Hawks, and this is going to be another weird pick for the Hawks. This would have been a good pick for Derek Queen. Especially since Clint Capella is going to be probably gone. And Okongwu, I think he's still a good, solid young player, but I think they need to maybe look for a different solution. I still think they should have drafted Alex Sarr, but that's just me. I'm looking at Noah Fears. I think he's probably the best player available as of now in the draft board, but I don't know if they're going to draft him. That's the problem. Do they take on and risk Igor Demin? I don't know. They have Dyson Daniels right now, so it doesn't really make sense for them to draft Demin, but it doesn't really make sense for them to draft Jeremiah Fears. So this could be also another pick where they try to trade down or trade up as well to be able to try and get some better picks out of that or something. But in my opinion, I feel like for the Hawks, if they were to pick someone, I think they should pick Jeremiah Fears. Excellent scorer. The problem with him is his three-point consistency. He's not the greatest shooter right now, but he is just an excellent scorer. I think he's one of the highest usage rates in college basketball, so he's being used a lot. So who knows, if he's being used less, maybe his shooting percentages will go up as well. But either way, even though he's got a high usage, you could clearly see he's still averaging 16 points per game off of 45% from the field. So he's an excellent player. I really like how Jeremiah Fears has been playing right now for Oklahoma. And as of now, I don't like this pick that much for the Hawks, but it'll do. And then finally, at pick number 14, the last pick in the lottery, goes to the Dallas Mavericks, the team that traded away their future in Luka to be able to try to win a championship right now. This is a team that is desperate for kind of a lot of stuff. It says there's severe needs at center, which makes no sense to me when they have Kyrie, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively, who's been hurt all year, essentially. But I think they're fine at center. I think they got to look into more of like a backup point guard role, and I think this is where Nolan Traore gets drafted. He's kind of one of those raw prospects as well. He's kind of one of those players that we're not going to be able to know much about until we actually see him finally playing in an NBA setting, and I think the Spurs got to take a chance on him. I don't think they go Igor Demon here just because I think Igor just has so much inconsistency. I think Traore has some massive potential. Look up his highlights. I'm serious. He's got some serious... This kid can ball out. But anyways, that's going to be the end of the mock draft that I have. My first mock draft of this season, and then I will continue to do some more later on. But if you guys want me to do more, I guess, should I ask, do you want me to do more of these mock drafts going into the future so you guys can be introduced more to some of these players that are going to be prospects going into this draft? But let me just read out and just kind of name the players and who they're going to, just as a quick recap. So the Wizards would draft Cooper Flagg, the Jazz would draft Dylan Harper, Hornets drafting Vijay Edgecombe, Pelicans drafting Ace Bailey, Raptors drafting Kasparas Jakutonis, 76ers drafting Asa Newell, Nets drafting Trey Johnson, Bulls drafting Kaman Maluach, the Spurs drafting Liam McNeely, the Trailblazers drafting Con Knipple, the Trailblazers drafting Con Knipple, the Spurs drafting Derek Queen, the Rockets drafting Colin Murray Boyles, the Hawks drafting Jeremiah Fears, and the Mavericks drafting Nolan Traore. So if any of you guys disagree with me or you think someone else should have gone a little higher or a little lower, let me know down below. But that is going to be the end of today's episode of Sports Talk with JWock. I apologize if it's a little rushed. I have had a lot of schoolwork lately, and I'm kind of doing this really late at night, so I kind of wanted to just get this done and be able to get this uploaded so that you guys can have an episode to watch. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of Sports Talk with JWock. I greatly appreciate all of you for tuning into the channel and continuously giving me updates and feedback on basically how I can do better on this channel. If you guys want to check me out on any other social media platforms, I'm on Instagram at sportstalkwith_JWock3. I'm on TikTok at Sports Talk with JWock. I'm on Facebook at Sports Talk with JWock, and I'm also on Spotify if you just want to listen to my episodes at Sports Talk with JWock as well. So check me out on all of those platforms, and on YouTube here if you're watching, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below which team is going to get the number one pick to potentially be able to draft Cooper Flagg, and should Cooper Flagg be the number one pick? I think that's a pretty obvious answer, but I want to hear your guys' opinion. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Sports Talk with JWock. I'll see you all next week. God bless.